My name is Jocelyn Johnson, and this is my presentation on the Violations and Audits assignment. So firstly, the role of quality assurance in forensic chemistry is that it is the systematic process, procedure, or standards that are put in place to maintain quality and the reliability of results in the lab setting. And these are put in place to prevent errors and ensure the operations that are being conducted in the lab meet these standards and regulations. And the main goal of quality assurance is to prevent defects and maintain consistency in the results produced. Quality control, on the other hand, refers to the operational techniques and activities that monitor and control the quality of testing processes. And so this is put in place to detect deviations from the established methods and correct them. And both of these ensure accuracy, reliability, and validity in forensic testing so that the results can be trusted and sent in to a courtroom and be used as actual evidence. When looking at an audit, it's a review of a lab's operations, ensuring compliance, usually with the standards ISO IEC 17020, which is for the inspection body part of the lab, and then the standard ISO IEC 17025, which is more for the testing and calibration bodies in the lab. These two standards specifically that are performed or compared to an audit ensure the proper personnel, documentation, equipment, and methods are being used within that lab. And the main areas under review in an audit are the management system, the staff qualifications and their training, the documentation processes, the equipment, the maintenance of the equipment, and the calibration and reporting of results. So the process of an audit first is planning and preparation, which is usually where they define the scope, they define the person involved, whether that's the entire lab or specific employees. They establish the standards that they're going to use to compare this lab to. They select the audit team, and then they develop a plan. Once that is done, then they must notify the lab that they are doing an audit and conduct an initial meeting, just kind of letting them know what's going on, that they're going to be under inspection. After that, they go in and they review the documents, they interview the staff, observe the forensic testing processes that are going on in the lab, and they examine the testing, calibration, and procedures just to make sure everything is going right. Usually an audit isn't put into place unless there is suspicion of something not being done correctly. So once this is done, then they compare the lab procedures and all of their findings to the local regulations. For example, those two standards stated above, ISO IEC 17020 and 17025, and then they must report their findings and document it properly. And then if there were things that were being left out or not done correctly, then a corrective action plan will be created, and then follow-up audits will be conducted, whether that is an internal audit where someone from your lab goes in and observes, or an external audit where someone from another lab is coming in to observe. So the accreditation recertification process is where there will be ongoing internal audits and performance checks with the lab. Like I said before, if there was a corrective plan, there will be regular audits happening. External audits will take place to ensure the compliance with those ISO standards stated before. Corrections required if there are faults found in the prior steps. However, if there are no faults found, then usually this process is kind of over and they maintain their accreditation. If it needs to go further, then there is a review of records, test reports, calibration logs, and procedure updates, and then in-person visits from external bodies. So like I said before, that's someone else from another lab coming in to observe and perform the audit or the recertification process. And these continual visits ensure continuous compliance with the quality management standards and just ensure that the lab is following the proper protocol and standards and regulations in order to have the best test results. And so the audit that took place in November of 2002, the Houston Police Department Crime Lab was requested for an audit. So the police department requested an audit of their DNA section, where it was an external audit where DNA specialists from other labs came in to conduct the audit. And what they found were that numerous cases where evidence was contaminated or not analyzed properly, leading to wrongful convictions. There was a lack of standardized protocols in the DNA testing section. There were insufficient training and certifications going on for the staff members. They weren't prepared or they weren't trained properly on how to conduct this research. There were poor quality control standards in place. They were not following the proper standards. And so those were the major findings. And so the outcome of this audit, or the changes implemented, were that the DNA section of the Houston Police Department Crime Lab was closed for several years. I think it was closed down from 2002 to 2006. And during that time, thousands of cases were reanalyzed and looked at, reopened, and the staff that were involved in this incident were then removed or relocated somewhere else and retrained and reanalyzed. New management was brought in to this lab. The entire lab was kind of wiped clean. They brought in new management, new staff. They had to go through the accreditation recertification process because they lost their accreditation during this issue. The training programs for the staff were significantly improved, and they retrained all staff members on site. And then stricter observation by the management team was put in place to hopefully avoid this type of thing from happening again. And there are the references that I used.